And if you didn't have a reasonable answer to that question, they wouldn't have believed what you were saying and, continued about their business. But for some reason, when this generation is told you can't know who God is, and by extension, what the right religion is, you just say, all right, and you move on. Now, certainly that is the easier way to go. Well, I grew up in a secular home, meaning there wasn't much, if any, talk about God at all. But going into my senior year of high school, I began to wonder what I should do with my life. I began to wonder, well, why do I exist at all? And it was the first time that I ever really asked myself that question, why do I exist? But I didn't have an answer. Now, this took a number of years, but eventually I realized that the answer to why do I exist lied in whether or not there was a God. So I began to try to figure out whether there was a God or not. And what I realized from there was, if you're trying to find out if there's a God or not, you can't do it in the negative. It's the idea that you cannot know who God is. Now, the problem with that idea, of course, is, how do you know you can't know who God is? So one day it dawned on me, the only way to really know is if God was willing to make himself known. So I began to ask God if he was there to open up my understanding in some way so that I could know beyond a shadow of a doubt. And he ultimately did that. And when he does that, nobody really knows how God does that, but it becomes so clear to you that you just can't deny it anymore. Most reject what I'm saying, probably don't like the fact that I'm saying it. Most probably just kind of ignore it and walk by. Some get obviously pretty angry and express it. And then some come by and talk and want to know further. What possible defense of that idea could be given? And when you can't defend the foundational ideas, the foundational idea of a society and the foundational idea of an educational system, then that whole society and system falls apart. Yeah, I would much rather discuss and debate than preach. Preaching is a way to kind of get to the discussing and the debating. If we just made up the concept,
then
we could throw it out. If we could throw the whole concept out if we want.
So now my daughter's a senior there now, so she's looking at Penn State, she's looking at UF, a bunch of schools. But I was telling her about the Willard Preacher. I go, let me see if he's still there.
By November of 1982, I began to believe that God wanted me to do what he was doing. So I started in November of 1982 and still doing it.